Is Candace Owens in some serious trouble? Well,
Pascal, you are now rocking with that dude Pascal.
what's up? Is Candace Owens in some serious legal and financial trouble? As we already know, Candace Owens has put out some very interesting, very scathing, and wild allegations, some would say wild allegations, about the First Lady and the President of France, Emmanuel Macron, and Brigitte Macron. It has been a very interesting couple days talking and covering this whole situation, this defamation lawsuit. But now there's an article that I want to share with y'all, because here's the thing. This article is basically breaking it down and putting in their side. And, you know, of course, this side is basically saying like, nah, she's in some real trouble. Things that she's saying sounds absolutely crazy. She sounds off her rocker. She keeps changing her narrative and all of that. And here's the thing. Like I said, I know that this has split the room. Some people believe what she's saying is completely correct, and some people believe that what she's saying is absolutely crazy. I leave that up to you guys, okay? And because you guys put a whole bunch of heart emojis in the chat and in the comment section down below on the previous video, you guys made it very clear that you want me to cover more about this Candace Owens Macron defamation lawsuit that's going on right now. And so I'm giving that to you guys, okay? And this article is basically saying that, yeah, this woman is in some serious trouble because of the things that she's saying here. Because again, she has no factual evidence, she has no factual proof, and it would be really helpful for her in this case if the proof that she had, if she even had proof, sorry. You know what I mean? So again, something about this is very, very interesting. And nonetheless, she has more than quadrupled down, 10 toes down, basically saying, you know, you were born a man, Brigitte Macron, you're going to die a man, you're a pervert, you're disgusting, so on and so forth. She has said some pretty wild stuff on her own platform. In fact, she continues to talk about it since the defamation lawsuit. And I don't blame her. I can see why she's doing it, because it's bringing a lot more views. It is up. Her views have gone to the moon, okay, since this whole lawsuit went down. People are watching. People want to see what's going to happen and what's going to transpire. Is she going to lose everything, you know, or is she going to win everything? That's one thing that I think a lot of us are wanting to know. And of course, obviously, things are going to change. The course of this lawsuit, if it actually goes further and it goes into some sort of courtroom, the proof will be seen. We will find out whether or not Brigitte Macron is indeed Jean-Michel Trogneux, which is apparently her brother, right? Which we will talk about here in a second. But you see what I'm saying? Wondering if she is a man or not, we will get that actual proof shown. Whether Brigitte Macron wants that to happen or not. But nonetheless, let me share this and show you guys this too. Here on the far like right hand of this graphic that they made. I mean, if you see Candace Owens, she's actually wearing a t-shirt with a graphic where they have Brigitte Macron in the Time magazine, like a Time magazine front cover, and it says Man of the Year, and then underneath it says What's Next with Brigitte Macron's face on it. She was selling this as merch, y'all. So she has been capitalizing on this whole thing like crazy. And of course, her deep dive 8-part podcast series has garnered millions of views, okay? Everybody tuned into this. And I'm telling you right now, if her claims are correct, and we find out that Brigitte Macron is indeed born a man, there's so much more that she's saying in her 8-part series that needs to be looked into. Here's the thing. She talks about this disgusting ring. She talks about this dark underbelly of, I guess, high society, high French society, etc. Disgusting stuff, to the likes of Epstein files type stuff. She exposes these things, or at least addresses and brings these things up in this 8-part series. It's more than just her claiming that Emmanuel's wife, Brigitte Macron, is indeed a man. It's more. It's way more than that, guys. So again, if they find out that her piping downstairs has a pipe, okay, sticking out, she actually indeed has a weed whacker, okay, instead of velvet curtains, oh my God, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And this is when I say drain the French swamps then. Then I go have at it. Go at it, girl. Go ahead, do your thing, girl. Expose it all. And then that's what I would say is, hey, do a deep investigation into the claims that she says in this wild, deep, and disturbing 8-part series that she puts out. Again, let me repeat one more time. The 8-part series is more than her just talking about whether or not Brigitte Macron got a walnut between her legs or not. Real talk. This is huge and should be looked at if her claims are true about Brigitte Macron. Like I said, this is just the tip. But let's move on. Candace Owens doubles down on Macron claims, okay? Since leaving the Daily Wire in March 2024, she has built much of her career as a right-wing media star on a bold claim that French First Lady Brigitte Macron is a transgender woman commenting or committing a host of crimes, and that she may be in a very disgusting marriage to her own son, French President Emmanuel Macron. So they think that there's something going on. It's all inner family stuff. Okay, this is what Owens said in this 8-part series. Okay, she has repeatedly, almost monomaniacally, pushed this theory, even vowing to stake her career on the allegations. But yes, she has been saying, hey, I will lose the shirt off my back, basically, to show you proof positive that this woman was indeed born a man, right? She went so far as to beg the Macrons to sue her if it wasn't true, and offered to pay their legal bills to do it. And guess what? The Macrons are calling her on her bluff, right? They're basically saying, hey, you have been sued, Lele. There you go, right? Enjoy, petite fille, right? So again, interesting, right? So, well, the Macrons just did that, right? Which we already know. Following an 8-part podcast series Owens produced laying out her claims, the French couple sued Owens for defamation in Delaware court last week, and that's because her LLC for her company and all that, Owens Company, was put together and made in Delaware. Okay, just so you know. So, and the Macrons aren't kidding around. Their complaint is a 219-page long complaint. Okay, it's long. But we already know that Owens isn't backing down, baby. Since being sued, she has devoted 4 episodes, if not more now, okay, of her show to re-airing her allegations against the Macrons. She is, like I said, she is more than quadrupled down, y'all. She don't give a damn. She really, truly believes that the Macrons are up to something very sinister, aside from Brigitte Macron being born a man. That's just the tip of the iceberg, like I said, okay? Along with the potential that Owens will have to pay massive damages, the lawsuit is interesting for 2 separate reasons. The split has exposed the MAGA right between Owens and many of her compatriots. Yeah, it definitely has split up. I mean, as you can see in the chat in the last video, and I'm sure in the chat down below this video here, there's going to be a lot of people that are like, come on, man, like she ain't a woman, or no, she's a woman. Y'all got it wrong. Let's move on, right? And the potential it has to cause real headaches for Donald J. Trump, who has had to tend to some awkwardly complicated diplomatic relations. And then, of course, let's not forget the Epstein files as well. We ain't going to stop, though, on that either, y'all. We're keeping an extensive watch. We're doing extensive coverage on that as well. So make sure you're subscribed. Hit that like button down below. We're covering a lot of different things on this channel because we want to unearth and bring justice for those victims And especially when it comes to the Epstein thing, just real quick, we want to drain that swamp and we want to get justice for those survivors and those victims as well. Moving on, though, I recently had the displeasure, the person who wrote this, the reporter of this article, had the displeasure of diving very deep into Owens' allegations. And while they're a little hard to sum up, in part because her story keeps shifting, it does, as the Macrons lawsuit notes, and they're not wrong, Owens dropped some of her evidence. So she dropped some of it. It has been disproven. To describe them as unhinged doesn't go anywhere near far enough. Which is interesting, right? Let's be real. She has been making some serious claims, and then, of course, she has changed her narrative a little bit. Her theories have keep shifting as well, okay? Which is one I'm going to talk about here in a second. I just talked about it in my most recent video on this whole situation, so please go check it out and come back in here because I talk about that more extensively over there, but I'm going to talk about it here once we get through this paragraph here. So essentially, Owens claims that Brigitte Macron is in fact her brother. His name is Jean-Michel Trogneux, who transitioned into Brigitte in his 30s and committed plenty of identity fraud along the way. Owen goes on to allege that Emmanuel Macron is a victim of Jean-Michel's grooming. Now, here's the thing. Some of that could be true if they changed Jean-Michel's name into Brigitte Macron's name. Because remember, Brigitte met Emmanuel when she was like in her late 20s, if not 30s. And Emmanuel was like 15 years old. Okay? Like, that's crazy. And they fell in love then. He was a kid. All right? She was a grown-ass woman who was already married. And if I'm correct, was already having children of her own at that time. She was grown, baby. She was grown. So as far as that goes, you could look at that and say, yeah, that's disgusting and that's really disturbing. Okay? The age gap between these two is massive. All right? And yes, I know there's other people out here that will sit here and say, well, if the genders were changed, okay, meaning, Emmanuel was older and Brigitte was younger, it would be no big deal. Look at how society looks at that kind of situation. See, now I get what you're saying. I have no problem with that claim and that argument if they met way later on in life, right? Like, she's a grown woman and he might be a much older man, but she's also a grown woman. Yeah, that is weird, but it is still, I get it. That part is still socially acceptable to a certain extent. But imagine if he was in his 30s and he met Brigitte when she was 15. That's wrong. And he was a teacher at her school. That's absolutely disgusting. You see what I'm saying? So no matter what, it's still disgusting, regardless what gender, okay? Regardless if it's Brigitte who's older or Emmanuel who's older at that time. But here's something that I think is interesting. Owens was also claiming that Brigitte was actually alive. She actually did exist. And she was the sister of Jean-Michel Trogneux. And what is interesting about this is that she tells this story, and this is the video I just did a little bit ago. She claims that Brigitte, on her deathbed, turned to Jean-Michel, who just wanted to be a girl, and said, go, be part of life. Take my identity. Be part of life. Enjoy. Je t'aime, Jean-Michel. Je t'aime. As she fades away, right? And Jean-Michel said, well, I'm going to go pick that up. I'm going to scoop up that identity, and I'm going to get my sex change, and I'm going to become Brigitte Macron. That's what she literally said in my most recent video. She put out those claims just a few days ago, which is crazy, okay? Like I said in the other video, it sounds like the origin story to a Marvel evil character. You know what I mean? A Marvel comic book evil character, villain, right? So again, it just is wild. But let's continue on, all right? She's been moving the goalposts a lot. Not just a little bit, a lot of bit lately, okay? But let's move on. Let's move on here. She gets more outlandish from there. The Macrons, she insists, are possibly linked to a century-old cult called the Frankists, devoted to undermining Western civilization at every turn. Emmanuel now apparently is a victim of the CIA's MK Ultra brainwashing. This particular reporter says, just Google it, okay? If you want to know what the MK Ultra thing is, go check it out. Perhaps, Owens has said, Emmanuel is Brigitte's, or Jean-Michel's, son. Wild claims. Owens also alleges that both members of the presidential couple are being blackmailed by a sinister cabal. Who isn't? Now, here's the thing. Wild. But again, like I said before, if these claims are true, first off, it starts with the walnut. I'm sorry. It all starts with the tip. If we find out that Brigitte Macron is indeed born a man, then all these other claims, they should do a deep dive into. And there's more that she says that is not just about MK Ultra or, being blackmailed by a sinister cabal. It's the cult of the Frankists and all that. There's so many other things that are going on that I'm going, hey, wait a second. It starts with whether or not she's got a weed whacker or not. And if she does have a weed whacker, this is the first domino, right? And then let it all hang out. I have to. But you get what I'm saying, right? So again, very interesting claims that she puts out here, okay? There's a lot of evidence that Owens' core claims are not true, including photographs and Brigitte's birth announcement in a local newspaper. Brigitte also has adult children who look a lot like her. This is where it gets crazy. Owens, crazier or just as crazy, depends on how you look at this crazy. But moving on, Owens explains that away by arguing that Jean-Michel actually had those children as a man with a woman who looks a lot like Brigitte Macron, but it's not Brigitte Macron. Like I said, this is hard to sum up. As for Jean-Michel Trogneux, her brother, okay, he's still around. The Macron lawsuit provides pictures of him at Emmanuel's presidential investitures, sometimes even in the same frame as his sister, meaning no single transgender Macron could have done a quick outfit change to fool the camera, though perhaps they pulled a prestige-like trick. Now, he's not wrong. We even talked about this. Brigitte's own biological brother, the one that she's claiming is actually Brigitte, who is Jean-Michel Trogneux. I know it gets confusing. Was in the same room, in the same photos, at the same time with Emmanuel Macron and his sister Brigitte Macron. In the same room, in the same photos, in the same frame. No, you can't just sit there and say, oh, that must be AI. It's really good photoshopping and all that. No, they're in the same room at the same time, rubbing elbows, drinking colors, talking trash with all these other people in these rooms. And yet she's saying that Jean-Michel Trogneux is indeed Brigitte Macron. That's crazy. It's almost like the Andy Kaufman character. I forgot the Andy Kaufman character. But it's like that big, like they said, it's like the prestige trick, right? Like the entire time you got someone like Andy Kaufman. He has the other guy that he plays, that guy. But then you'll see Andy Kaufman in the audience talking to the character that he usually plays, but he's having his friend play the part for him because he's trying to trick the audience thinking that these are two separate people and that Andy Kaufman is not indeed the other guy too, right? And so, again, it's... This is just insane, okay? The lawyers also claim to have voting cards establishing that the brother and sister voted in the same election, but in two different cities, proving they were separate individuals. Again, is this like some crazy, mind trick, this long magic trick that they're trying to do. Like, I don't know. It just seems a little weird. The Macrons' complaint lists many more pieces of evidence proving that Owens' claims are wrong. Now, here's the thing, guys, okay? When you see this whole article and them breaking it all the way down, don't get me wrong. We all have our theories about the world. We all have our theories about particular people. But it's one thing to have theories. It's another to put those things out in a scathing, mind-blowing, jaw-dropping 8-part podcast series, and then turn to the people who you're claiming to be as whatever you're claiming to them to be. You turn to them and say, hey, go ahead, sue me. I dare you. And they step up to the dare. You can't be surprised about that. But one thing is for sure, I've noticed that, she's making more content, talking about it even more on her podcast and on her show. Her thumbnails and her titles all mostly revolve around the whole situation with the Macrons. And she's not letting down. All I can say is, yeah, she's in some serious trouble. She most definitely is. This defamation lawsuit could destroy her entire career. It's not even just her finances. It's not only just her finances and her, these legal troubles that she's having right now. I'm talking about her career and her clout and people actually believing the things that come out of her mouth. Because again, we've heard some crazy things from Candace Owens, some wild claims in the past. But, like I said, some of those things people go, all right, it's okay, boo-boo. You were weird with that one, but we still love you, boo-boo. And then people continue listening to her stuff. But on this one, I don't know if people are gonna. Is there a way back from this if she's proven wrong? I don't know. All I can say is this is going to be a very interesting situation when it all transpires. But I'm here for it. We're going to keep an eye on it. Trust and believe, because honestly, you guys want me to talk about it. So we're talking about it. But at the same time, this also shows for all of us out here how important it is to make sure that we know, like, that we're covering things that are 110% true, right? That we lean on the facts that are out here and not just on theory. Don't get me wrong. As a journalist, if you claim yourself to be a journalist, yeah, sometimes you do have to go down roads less traveled and go down that rabbit hole and ask the questions. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you don't have full solid evidence of said thing, you should be ready for lawsuits like this. Look at the situation with Tasha K and Cardi B. Perfect example, right? Tasha K said all kinds of crazy stuff. Later on, we found out she just made those things up because she knew she was going to make money off of that content. Now, I don't know about Candace Owens. I don't know if she just made that 8-part series just because she knew she was going to get properly minted from it. I don't know. But I do know that, well, you got the Macrons coming at you. Maybe you should keep your thoughts to your lawyer and let the rest speak out in court rather than put it out on the internet. But that's just me, though. That's just me. Yes, I think she is in some real trouble. And I think it'll all, everything will transpire in court. Either we will be going to her being like, we were wrong, you were right, you absolutely were right, and we were wrong. Or we're going to be looking at her going, ooh, you were out of pocket for that one, girl. We just got to keep it a bean. You were out of pocket. But what say you guys? Comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are. Hit that like button down below. Crush that subscribe button. And we'll talk here soon. This is crazy, and I don't think it's going to be letting up anytime soon. This train is getting wild. There's more too, and we'll be talking about it in a little bit in another video for sure. All right. Like I said, I'm keeping an eye on this, baby. So definitely hit that like button down below, crush that subscribe button, and we'll talk here soon. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.
PASC. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild.